Stanton out of the game. There's a fly ball deep to left. It's on its way.
Bumps again to the sideline. Batted up. Oh, God! Stokely!
It's a physical game.
Kemba Walker. Step back. Walker. Cardiac Kemba does it again. UConn.
The members of this group consist of Ryan Brody, Paul James, DeLon Stevenson, and DeJuan Nimera. And today we are going to talk to you about why playing video games should not be considered a sport. Some points we are going to talk to you about are how hard it is to be an athlete, and we're also going to define what it means to be an athlete and also define what it means to be a gamer.
The definition of a gamer is a person who plays a game or games, typically a participant in a computer or role-playing game. The definition of an athlete is a person who is proficient in sports and other forms of physical exercise. People often take game and sports as to be the same thing. However, games and sports are entirely different. A game involves more than one person, and a sport pertains to only an individual's skill and performance. A game relies on strategy, while a sport is based on individual performances and luck. A person participating in a sport is called an athlete. A person who participates in a game is known as a player. One can come across more professionalism in a sport than the game. In a sport, the athlete is expected to show good sportsmanship and also have high standards of conduct, like respecting the opponent and officials. But in a game, an individual may not deliver such character. Sport is based on physical energy, and a game is based on mental strength. With some of the examples stated, we believe that gamers should not be considered athletes.
Lately, there has been a lot of speculation on if gamers should be considered athletes. As you can see before, we've previously shown you the definition of an athlete and a gamer, which is a big difference in them. In the athlete's definition, it stands out that there's a physical performance involved in it. As you can see with a gamer, they just sit in their chairs a lot and touch on a keyboard and move a mouse, which is not really physical performance, as you can see with other sports such as football, basketball, or baseball. I am not saying that video games are not hard and do not take a lot of skill, because they do, but they are not classified as a sport or being an athlete. Just because it takes skill does not mean it makes you an athlete. A lot of people may consider chess as a very skillful game, but chess players are not considered athletes. They're just considered chess players. Many athletes run the risk of getting injured in sports every day, and as you can see, video gamers just sitting in their chairs don't really run that risk of getting injured or doing anything really physical to get injured or endanger themselves. They don't really participate in much except for sitting on the chair and using the keyboard and mouse.
Day in the life of an athlete. An athlete relies heavily on his body and physical ability. Things that go into being an athlete: hours of training, hours of film study. Depending on the sport, you have to deal with things like weather and risk of being an athlete. Major injuries, broken bones, concussions. The biggest thing that separates sports and video games is you don't get injured playing video games. There's hardly any risk of injury playing a video game. On the other hand, you have sports where there's a high risk, no matter what the sport is, of injury. In conclusion, we feel that gamers should not be considered an athlete because they do not apply a physical aspect to the sport.